Hey guys, this is your second video for your quadratic formula reloop activity. Now that you've taken some time to practice your simplifying quadratic formula fractions, now we need to put it all back together in order to fully solve one whole problem. As a reminder, the whole reason that we're doing this, that we have to use the quadratic formula is for any quadratic function, we can use the quadratic formula to be able to find the x-intercepts. They also might be called roots, solutions, zeros. All of those mean the same thing. So the quadratic formula helps us find that specific key feature, which can answer questions like, how long was the football in the air? How long was something in orbit? All kinds of different questions and applications that we would need the specific information for. So there is purpose to what we are doing, but let's get started so that we can simplify one problem altogether. So the first thing I need is to make sure that my quadratic equation is in standard form. As a reminder, our standard form is an ax squared plus bx plus c, all equal to 0. If I look back at my example here, 2x squared plus 5x equals -3. Well, -3 and 0 definitely are not the same thing. So I need to move that -3 back over to the left side. I'm going to do that by adding 3. I'm going to add it over here on the far left because it doesn't have any other common terms to add it with. But I'm going to put it all back in order so that my ax squared plus bx plus c, that 3 we moved back over, is now equal to 0. Now that it's all in order, I can use that standard form to pull out and identify my a, b, and c values for that quadratic equation. So the a value is with the x squared, which is 2. Our b value is with the x with the power of 1, which is a 5. And our c value is now a positive 3. Make sure that you have moved it over to the left side with all of the other numbers and variables so that it is in standard form. If you had a -3 for this, it would give you a totally different answer. And in this case, an incorrect answer. So one little negative sign can throw everything off. So now that we have standard form and identified our a, b, and c values, we're going to use those to identify the discriminant of our quadratic function. As a reminder, what our a, b, and c values are, because we're going to need those. So in order to find my discriminant, each time I'm going to do what would be a a skeleton of sorts. Discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4ac, and that's going to be equal to some number that we're about to find out. Now, each time this little skeleton will never change. Your a, b, and c values will change, but this skeleton piece will not. So I'm going to take my b value, which was 5, and it'll go first. Then my a value, which was 2, and my c value, which is 3. Now, if you are using your calculator, you want to plug this in exactly the way you see it. Parentheses 5, close parentheses, squared, minus 4, parentheses 2, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, 3, close it, enter. Once you do that, you're going to get a number equal to 1. We're not going to get too in-depth into what that necessarily means, but because it's positive, that means it's going to give us 2 answers for this problem. Now that I have my discriminant, I'm going to take all of that information that we just found and plug everything into our quadratic formula. This one's also going to have a skeleton. So x is equal to, remember, because we're looking for the x-intercepts or our zeros or our roots or our solutions. And I'm going to have the opposite of the b value, plus and minus, because I may or may not have 2 solutions, but because my discriminant was positive, I already know I will. All divided by 2 times a. Now I can start filling in that information of the last little bit that I need. So my B value is still 5. My A on the bottom was 2. And my discriminant was just 1. I can start to clean this up a little bit. X is equal to the opposite of -5, or the opposite of +5, excuse me, is a -5. Plus and a minus hasn't gone away yet. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. Now, the square root bit of 1, this is where my scratch work would come into play. And the square root of 1 in this case is 1. So my radical will go away. Now, this is a little bit different from the simplifying quadratic formula fraction that we just had. The other one had a complex number in it with the I value. This one, I already know because my discriminant was positive, I'm going to get 2 real solutions. So I need to break this down even further and go all the way with it. So I'm going to have -5 plus 1 as my discriminant all over 4, comma, because I have a second number, -5 take away 1 all over 4. This is what that plus minus is representing. I'm going to have the opposite of the B value plus the square root of the discriminant, and then the opposite of B minus the square root of the discriminant. Now I can take each of those and simplify it down individually. -5 plus 1 is going to be a -4. -4 divided by 4 is going to be a -1. So again, I want to do the numerator first on top. -5 plus 1 gives me a -4. -4 over 4 gives me a -1. Then the numerator of the next solution piece, -5 take away 1 is a -6. Over a +4 is going to give me a -3 over 2. So I'm going to have 2 answers here, 2 solutions, one at x equals -1 and another at x equals -3/2. So now we have gone through and taken all of those pieces that we have worked so hard to individually build on and put it all together to be able to find this piece of the key feature for our quadratic functions. If you have any questions about what we've gone through or case-by-case basis on maybe some simplifying things as you have questions, please don't hesitate. We are here to help. Refer to the key also as you need it, and happy solving.